Hey everyone, welcome to the Crypto Cave podcast. My name is Jacob, and today I am joined by my colleagues Rufus and Phil.
Hey,
And
welcome. How's it going?
today we're going to talk a little bit about the merge and about the question: is there life after the merge? What do you think, guys?
I don't believe that death is all that there is. Yes, there is definitely life after the merge.
All
There was
right.
life before the merge, there'll be life after.
Do you
Yeah,
think there is GPU mining life?
absolutely. Looking
Absolutely.
forward.
I'm looking
And
forward
we've
to it as
already
well.
found some.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well. It's going to be interesting what the merge is going to bring, and it's finally happening. All those years of people telling us that it was happening, as if it was some kind of weird myth. It used to be crypto's leprechaun. It's what I used to say.
There we go.
No one actually seen it, and now we're actually, you never know. In the end,
There's like those signs at the bars that you see in bars that are like free beer tomorrow, Tomorrow never comes.
yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about markets, because
Yeah.
Phil, you sent me a market
I just brought
link.
one chart.
You just brought one chart. It looks
One chart.
it's one of the most one of the more famous charts, right?
The BTC dominance chart. And if this was an asset that I could buy, I would probably sell everything right now. It looks like it's about to break to new all-time lows. Um, I guess there might be a shift, I guess, in market caps pretty soon is what I would guess. And there's a lot of good plays out there. If you've not looked around in a while, maybe you should go looking.
So, what do you mean a shift in market caps? Do you think that it's going to be
Away from Bitcoin and into other chains and technologies, right? Bitcoin will play a smaller role after this, and it'll one and that should be the trend anyway, right? I mean, once upon a time it was the only thing, and as we continue to find more and different, new, innovative things to do with this technology,
mhm.
it'll of course likely always be important, or at least be important for a very long time. But it might be time for some other projects to show up. And this is kind of a to see a chart like this around an event like the merge. Maybe some hope is around the corner. I always like to say that, I guess.
Yeah, and what
I
do you think?
mean,
What do you think about the current prices of ETH and Bitcoin? I saw that it was kind of a roller coaster last week.
And we've chopped around a bit. It's kind of been a snooze the past week or so. It's a little bit up today, which is also what I would like to see if some other projects were about to take off. Is a little bit of confidence. So.
All right. Yeah. So we were also obviously this week already discussing what the next game plan is in the upcoming Ethereum merge, because obviously I'm not sure if all of our viewers know this, but we are big in GPU mining ourselves. So we're actually going to have to switch over as well. Do you have any coins you'd like to talk about, Phil?
Yeah. Wanted to talk about a couple of the coins that we're going to be supporting. First one is Raven Coin. If you want to pull up their website, maybe. Ravencoin has been around for quite a while. I've been seeing them often for the past few years on what to mine, right? Even as Ethereum has been the number one thing to mine, I very frequently would see Ravencoin just a few notches down on what to mine all the time. I had never really looked into it until now that I guess us and a lot of other people kind of have to.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a strong community. Development is still very active. They're still progressing down the roadmap. They've added tokens. They're supposed to be adding a chat function sometime soon. It's a fork of Bitcoin, Emily. So Bitcoin code, not a blockchain fork.
Okay.
So it didn't have any pre-mine or ICO. It's a very open source feels sort of project. Yeah, it looks very strong. Has a lot of wallet support. Has a lot of exchange support. Has a very high market cap relative to a lot of other coins. I don't see anything in particular that, other than the chat function, is kind of new and interesting. There's not a lot of, let's say, the more buzzwordy sorts of innovations, right? Like there's no zero knowledge anything on Ravencoin. But I mean, generally, just seems like a good, solid project. So be exciting to see what comes out of that and more attention.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What's this chat function that you're talking about? What does it mean?
I don't think they're actually going to put the messages on chain. I think it's just going to relay over the network somehow. But it's still in development, so I don't have that.
Well, I hope it's not another merge.
Yeah, they don't seem they seem committed to decentralization thing.
Sure. I meant that it's just always on the horizon, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They do have their algo is Cowpow. Is that a
yeah,
ProgPow fork? Cowpow.
Yeah,
It's a ProgPow fork.
it's an alteration on ProgPow that is bit better to mine with on AMD. ProgPow was better for NVIDIA cards than CawPow is. It runs the cards hotter and more intensely than you would with any other with ETH hash. That's because it's a ProgPow type algorithm, so it's designed to be optimized for GPUs and uses every part of the GPU as much as possible. Yeah.
Does it also cost you more electricity?
That's a decent question. Let me look that up.
I think ProgPow's been out a few years now, but I think when it came out, it was being touted as the holy grail of ASIC hard algos. And I think to this day, there's not really been any sort of even motion towards an ASIC for ProgPow or any of its derivatives.
And you can't. So ProgPow is like it's a new concept.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a. It's you're designing an algorithm around the hardware rather than designing the algorithm around cryptography, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's an interesting concept. It's not necessarily. It needs to be able to be updated. That's the core weakness, so to say, of any ProgPow, is that you need to be able to modify the algorithm as hardware changes, but not overly significantly. and it would be rare. It would be, you know, every 10, 20 years maybe. But if there's fundamental shifts in hardware, for instance, if like we really get quantum computing coming around and GPUs kind of are start to phase out for some new kind of processing unit, then you would have to create a new you would have to program new work in order to
Everybody
maximize
would
that.
at that point, wouldn't they?
I mean,
when you
yeah,
get that sort of
well,
shift,
not
all-
everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, ETH hash is quantum resistant. A lot of these are quantum resistant. Obviously, you would end up with quantum ASICs on them. But yeah, they wouldn't necessarily need to create new algorithms. Whereas ProgPow, you would have to create a new algorithm when you design it for new hardware. But it's basically designed to the best GPU is going to be the best. GPUs are the ASICs for ProgPow, basically. That's how ProgPow is designed. I'm a huge proponent of it. Yeah, it's a great way of approaching the you know, security and choosing an algorithm, etc. Yeah, so basically it's designed so that you have to run all the functions that you would want a GPU to run to be able to do, and use every part of that GPU. And the more that it uses, the better it is. And so
Yes.
GPUs become the
So for our viewers who don't know, Bitcoin was actually based around the SHA-256 algorithm. It's a cryptography algorithm, and it's basically a very simple algorithm to calculate with CPUs or with GPUs and with your phone actually as well. But in the end, certain computer chip makers came out with specialized computer chips that could do these calculistic, this cryptography very quickly. And they basically raced everyone out of the mining game by making ASICs, because an ASIC is basically an application-specific IC. That's what it stands for, ASIC, and it's only made for this algorithm. So you can't actually do anything else with a Bitcoin mining machine other than mine Bitcoin and maybe some of the other coins that use the same algorithm. That's the difference between an ASIC and a GPU. A GPU can actually be used for a lot of different things. You know, it can be used for AI calculations. It can be used for rendering screens. Basically, every computer has one, and that's the difference between those two types of things. So what Rufus is saying, ProgPow is made for every computer out there. I mean, at least every computer with a GPU can potentially calculate it.
And also, yeah, I mean, the better the GPU, the better it will be at mining ProgPow or CawPow. And yeah, so typically with these algorithms, they designed the algorithm to be very robust and one way. It's a cryptographic algorithm, so it's designed to be easy to calculate in one way, very difficult to calculate in the other way, very useful at hiding data, zipping it or whatever you want to call it. And rather than design the algorithm in the traditional method with CawPow and then see what hardware is good at doing it, with ProgPow and CawPow, what they did is the opposite. They said, okay, this is the hardware we want to optimize for. What would be the best algorithm to utilize that hardware? Yeah, it's a really neat idea, as I say, because they basically say it's impossible to stop ASICs. You can always design hardware that is optimized for any algorithm, but instead of trying to fight that, they say, okay, we're going to design an algorithm that's optimized for the hardware we want utilized, and that's GPUs. The reason that's very important is because GPUs, as Jacob was saying, are really ubiquitous piece of hardware that is useful for so many things. The more that people have GPUs, the more GPUs people have, the more spread out that is, probably the better the world will be, because GPUs can solve lots of problems. So all the AI, all the neural nets, all of that kind of stuff is run on GPUs. And so everybody has a GPU. It's a really great way to distribute coins and to secure coins in a decentralized manner. It lets basically anybody with a computer access the network, get access to the coins, and ideally slowly pay off their GPU, also contributing to the distribution of GPUs around the world, etc. Yeah, it's
If anybody ever succeeds in building an ASIC, they've just built a better GPU and benefited everything else at the same time.
exactly, yeah, that's the genius of it. An ASIC for ProgPow is just a better GPU.
Yeah. That's interesting as well. I mean, no one's really going to put that on the market because, I mean, if they do, that's good for everybody, right?
I mean, and that's the other thing. If they do, they would put it on the market immediately because
They're going to
GPU
be
market is so much larger than the crypto market.
if you do,
So-
you're going to beat Nvidia, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you can create a better GPU than NVIDIA or AMD, then, I mean, look at that. Like, NVIDIA is like, what, 10x the market cap of Ethereum, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can create an ASIC for ProgPow, that would be great.
Yeah.
You'd be into money. I mean, you would have to worry about NVIDIA and AMD stealing it. That would be my only concern.
Yeah, that could happen. Talking about big market caps, though, the number 2 little brother of Ethereum is also a great contender for GPU mining, right?
Yeah, Ethereum Classic. I was a big proponent of Ethereum Classic during the split and all, but as some of y'all may have guessed, I deviated from them on my embrace of ProgPow, and that was a big contentious issue in the Ethereum Classic community a while back.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and-
why don't you tell our viewers a little bit what happened with ETH? Why is there an ETH Classic to begin with?
Sure. Yeah. So back in when Bitcoin was created and whatnot, there's a bunch of kind of rules of crypto that were created, and one of the core rules was code is law, and that if it's written in the code and it happens on the chain, then that's what happens. What we accept as truth is whatever was put on the chain. And well, back in 2016, I believe there was a project. Actually, people often forget about this, but when Ethereum started, Ethereum wasn't a big deal. Ethereum wasn't even the core project. The core project was something called the DAO. and Ethereum was just the thing that they were using to fuel the DAO, to run the DAO. But the DAO was supposed to be the company to end all companies. It was a decentralized corporation, essentially, where you would own shares in the DAO. You would vote on things that it would do. It would spend money on things. It could even like hire people to do things and whatever. It was like a company.
It was a
totally
fully decentralized company. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it was supposed to be able to do everything and anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the code on it was very complex, and someone figured out an exploit that allowed them to essentially pay out small amounts with very little oversight, and they just exploited it and drained the funds out of the DAO. And as I say, that was like pretty much everything. That was the I think something like 60% of Ethereum was in the DAO at the time. I don't believe they managed to drain it all, but they drained a significant portion of it. And then it caused a real crisis.
Mhm.
I think once it was spotted, some white hackers went in and white hats, whatever, went in and
They swooped the rest.
they got the rest out and saved it, partially. And then everybody went into kind of panic on what to do. The Ethereum Foundation proposed to fork Ethereum and get rid of the hack. They proposed to basically rewrite the chain and abandon the principle of code as law. They had a vote that was like on chain, but it was very little participation, and it was still not like a landslide victory for them. But they won it, and they said, okay, we're going to do this. And at that point, it was felt very much like centralized. Like, okay, they're going to just force through this motion. They haven't gotten the majority of tokens to even vote on it, and they're just going to force this through, this rewrite. I was pretty against it at the time. I felt like the hacker had found a legitimate exploit. Hell, I'd been looking for one myself. What's wrong with that? Like, that's how this is all supposed to work. It's all open source. It's all supposed to, you know the risk when you invest in anything on these. They're open source, that they're not,
All beta
this isn't a
software.
mature market, particularly not back then. And this isn't well-tested stuff.
Yeah, that's a very that's a very interesting stance right there. That's kind of the anarchistic stand of crypto, right?
I mean, that's what it was all founded on, obviously. And these days, that is, I'll admit, that kind of, that fact is what keeps crypto from going real mainstream, because people lose a lot of money on scams and hacks and all sorts of stuff. But ultimately, crypto, I feel, and I certainly felt back then more intensely, was supposed to be more of a B2B type thing. You're supposed to have sophisticated, you're not supposed to be involved unless you're very sophisticated and know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be like second layer kind of stuff for consumers eventually. And anyways, yeah, when Ethereum, they rewrote the Ethereum Foundation rewrote the chain. They got rid of the hack, and then they got rid of the DAO, so that it couldn't happen, and distribute out everybody their coins. And yeah, since then, obviously, Ethereum, all the kind of real pro decentralization people kind of left Ethereum at that point, and certainly slowly left afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ethereum has become more and more centralized, as we've seen, just because it accepted that kind of trade-off of security for centralization. And yeah, I mean that's what led us here today to this merge that we're, getting shoved through in the last minute. It's loads of fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting food for thought, though. I mean, what I found very interesting is also, I'm a bit of a coder myself, but what I found so interesting is how hard it is for someone to start coding something like Solidity, the programming framework that Ethereum and ETH Classic uses. It's such a pain to get used to it. And I mean, Phil, you've programmed it a little bit, right?
Yeah, but actually, I have praises like that. That's probably my best thumbs up for Ethereum is that Solidity and the Ethereum virtual machine is a gift to the world, no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I've started to try and support these other coins, it is so much more difficult to do anything in any of these other coins that aren't EVM based, right? And because of the meme, everybody makes fun of the JavaScript developers, right?
Mhm.
JavaScript developers coding your financial network, and it's true, right? And sometimes things fall apart for that reason, but it does bring a lot of people in, and it gets a lot of docs written, which is really helpful. And so yeah, for all of its faults, I wouldn't say that. And I actually know Solidity. People complain about it too. It does have some faults, but I'll thumbs up on that one actually. And I wish more coins could have that. I don't want them to make sacrifices to get it. So I might be just wishing for something that can't happen, but it would be nice to see a little more ease of access on some of these coins.
What don't you like about it, Jacob?
I mean, it's a very for me it very much feels like coding in C++. As in, it was around very early. Even back then, it was very good. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just very hard for someone who's into coding to pick up. And obviously, that's maybe, it's just, it's obviously just very new as well. So for there to be something like Solidity, we do really have to thank EVM for that, making all these smart contracts even possible. But so making it possible is very good, obviously. But
I always heard that it was easy to pick up because it's kind of JavaScript based. Anyways, maybe I'm
well, but I mean, that's not really how stuff these days gets written. So people, aren't used to that, I think, anymore.
I think actually almost everything is JavaScript nowadays. People have stopped using Apache in favor of JavaScript backends.
Mm-hmm.
Serving their websites just because it's asynchronous, very lightweight, and very fast. good at a lot of things, and there's just that there's so much support for it. Very ubiquitous. Uh, Generally easy. More demand for something there. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, we're getting some questions about Ergo and our New York facility.
Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah.
I think you were about to start saying something about Ergo, right, Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the other one on my deck here. They've got smart contracts as well, and that's actually who I was just thinking of. And it is very well documented. I've got nothing bad to say about the Ergo team or their project, but it is a bit more difficult than Solidity. I would say certainly not. Solidity has multiple, like you have a choice of libraries you want to use on Solidity, and that sort of support you just aren't going to find anywhere else in the space. But either way, so Ergo, their consensus, they're also very pro decentralization, pro committed to keeping it that way. They've got a big long paper on why they think what they think. They use the Auto Lycos, I think I've said that right, algorithm. I don't know a whole lot about that one. I know it is designed to be ASIC hard. I don't know if it pulls it off quite as well as ProgPow does, but don't think they would have any problem making a change to it if ASICs showed up, something like that. They want to ASICs off their chain as well.
Yeah, I think what's interesting as well for us as miners is it's quite in the early development. It looks like there's not a lot of wallets and stuff like that. There's
Yeah,
not a
it's
lot of exchange support, so that might actually be very interesting. As you know, as a coin grows, it also becomes more valuable because more exchanges start to accept it, stuff like that.
yeah,
So
and it's there's a reason for that, and that's that it's a UTXO chain, but unlike most other projects, it's not a fork of Bitcoin or anything else. They've built it completely from the ground up, which also means that all of the other projects or wallets, like Electrum wallets, Ravencoin, for instance, is Bitcoin code fork. So there's also an Electrum code fork, and it all just works, right? You
yeah,
don't have to do too much. But Ergo, on the other hand, everything's having to be built from scratch. They do have some really interesting features they've built in. So some stuff I haven't seen, some stuff I have. They've got a zero knowledge smart contract system, which I always think is very interesting. One of the most scaled blockchain technologies we have. But they've got this storage rent, is what they call it. And probably going to butcher this because I just read it yesterday. But after a certain amount of time, or like gradually over time, a particular UTXO becomes more expensive to move. I think you have to move it every 4 years or so at a minimum, so it's not very frequent. But this is designed to do a couple of things. One is to make sure people are still invested and interested in the network, and not just like sitting on a huge chunk of it in on a paper wallet in a vault somewhere and forgetting about it. It also prevents missing coin, right? Coins that get lost in a hard drive in a dumpster on Bitcoin, right? You can try and dig them out someday, but Ergo will actually recycle that into the miners. They're very committed, specifically not just decentralization, but to proof of work and proof of work mining, and to make sure the miners continue to get fed over the lifetime of the chain, not just cross your fingers, here's our limited emission, and hope there's enough transactions when it all runs out to keep you guys going. Yeah, they seem to be very committed to make sure that there is something there for the mine. It's the reverse of EIP 1550 in a way.
That's pretty interesting. What actually happens after those 4 years if you don't move it? I mean, it becomes more expensive to move it, but what if you don't move it at all?
I look again. There was a part that said the UTXO doesn't just disappear, but that kind of suggests that that it might, because the lost coins are recovered somehow. But if you'd like to read more about it, the feature is called Storage Rent. Ergoplatform.com.
Storage rent. Sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah. There's also a lot of active development here, very healthy community, very good exchange support, and pretty healthy market cap too. Like 100 and something the last time I looked.
What I think was interesting is I just looked it up. Is Ergo actually has more people mining it than Ravencoin, even though I thought that Ravencoin was bigger. The Autolykos hashing algorithm makes 2 times as much mega hashes as the Ravencoin algorithm does. But in the end, if you look at the complete hashing power, I think Ergo is in front of Ravencoin currently.
The Autolykos it's an interesting algorithm. It was designed initially. There was a V1, and now we're on V2. It was initially designed to be an anti-pooling algorithm. You weren't able to run a pool on it. And that caused a bunch of issues because basically it actually ended up over centralizing the hashing, because it meant that the big players were able to consistently get payouts, and little players were not.
Everybody has to run their own full node, and so your internet connection kind of matters there. Not that an Ergo node is particularly resource.
I'm actually not even sure that they had to run a full node on it, but they certainly.
Yeah.
What it did is, they do to mine.
Yeah, at least, particularly for, and it's got it. You can't mine off of a light node either. I just happen to know this because I've been setting it up past week.
And that's still true on the V2 currently. I guess it's still true right now.
I mean, it's true presently. Actually, I don't know if it was true then. So.
Yeah.
So does that mean you get into trouble if the block size is larger than your miner's disk space?
Potentially, but it's reasonable at the moment, at least, and being a zero knowledge should scale a little better.
It also it is designed for low memory hardware currently. 2 gigabyte hardware. And up. It scales up as the block size increases. But yeah, I mean, what I find interesting is that it was first designed to be anti-pool algorithm, but now they found it to be they found that to overly centralize their mining, so they forked it and they created Autolykos V2 that no longer penalizes. So I don't know, the mathematics behind how they did the anti-pooling is fascinating. I'm not going to get too into that here, because you guys know I can get too into that. But I'm just kind of looking at it right now as we're talking, and I don't see a lot of clarity on why they chose to stick with the same base algorithm after they decided to not make it mining pool resistant. And I'm not sure what the trade-offs of this algorithm are, the pros and cons are. I need to look more into it. But it's an interesting, certainly the V1 is a very interesting algorithm. I'll have to really dig into the V2 more to see what it's got going on.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's it's very interesting what you're saying is that people just basically because they had to run their full node, people didn't really mine it at all, and that basically caused for centralization in the end.
No, it wasn't that wasn't the problem. They actually had a thing in it. The way that they designed the algorithm originally was designed so that you could only try a certain number of tries on per block. And so like it would every time you tried to do a hash and come up with a solution for a block, it would get exponentially harder. And that meant that if you had a pool working all together, it actually penalized you more. You know, you needed everybody to be doing their own, finding their own solutions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it tied the basically it tied the number of solutions or it tied the solution to the payout address, thus forcing lots of addresses. And I mean, I think you could have actually run that even with a pool. It tied other parts of the block. I mean, it limited the number of solutions that you would be able to get. It's just I haven't gone through all the ways that would affect things, but it's very interesting. And so it, as I said, it penalized the more people trying to mine the same block, got exponentially worse performance. And meaning trying to mine the exact same block, you know, because miners never mine the exact same block. They you know, the transactions that one miner sees and puts in, and then the Coinbase transaction and all of that, they're different. And so the more different blocks that you were mining, the better off you would be on it. And that was that was how their anti-pooling solution worked, which is fascinating. They got rid of most of that, if not all of it. But they've held on to some ideas on it. I'm not sure why. They've held on to the base kind of concept, at least. Yeah, I mean, I think that the basic thing is that they want to make sure that everybody who's mining at least has to run a full node. They're trying to solve that issue. That's my feeling. I haven't seen any notes on that, but now that you guys say that you have to run a full node on it, it makes sense. That's probably what their goal is to.
I mean, if they allowed a pooled mining right now, I don't think you would need a full node, right? That sounds a bit counterintuitive to me.
Phil?
I do think you still. It even says specifically in the configuration if you set mining, you know, the ability to mine in the full node to true, then you also need keeping the blocks. So, but I do actually. It sounds like an interesting trick if you prevent pooling, or at least like if it had worked as intended, you would have forced a whole lot of people to be running full nodes. And so, like, hey, that doesn't sound like a terrible idea.
They're still forcing at least all the pools to be running full nodes, and
but that's the status quo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I mean, in the end, you don't want only the pools
node.
to be running a full node, right? You want more people to be running a full node. So
Yeah.
Well, it kind of seems like that may have been the idea.
yeah. Sounds like a pretty.
It didn't maybe work out in the end, but
Sounds like a pretty solid
worth a shot.
idea, though. Yeah, worth a shot.
It's interesting. Yeah. Especially if you've got a light node, like you know, something with these you know, zero knowledge proofs.
Something they've extended the UTXO from the traditional what Bitcoin has, a bit of extra information, and they don't label this as zero knowledge, but part of that is NepoPows, which is non-interactive proof of work, and this facilitates not only a new kind of SPV wallet, which is more secure than the traditional SPV wallet, but it also allows for atomic swaps because other chain, the Light wallet or other chains can read these proofs and validate that proof of work has occurred on this chain without having to fully reveal that proof. I mean, that's essentially
This
another.
is fascinating. This is really, really interesting stuff. You send me that page. I got to check that out.
Yeah, that sounds
there's so
very
many
interesting, but also
applications.
very, very, very tough because, for example, I know that, for example, exchanges in Korea, they do not allow any zero knowledge proof coins. So that's going to be tough as well, right? For Ergo, that it's basically an illegal coin in Korea.
I mean,
Maybe
Ethereum's got zero knowledge proofs. This doesn't make sense.
yeah, it's kind of hard. That I would have to. I'm definitely not a Korean lawyer, but it almost sounds like that couldn't have been written in any successful enforceable way given the technology. Because
Well, I think what they
in
just
terms of
did.
NFTs, like you can use that sort of technology to do any sorts of things that may or may or not, may not involve privacy, right? I think one of the classic examples of a zero knowledge proof in real life would be getting into a bar and handing them your ID, and they can prove that you're over 21, but without having to see your name or anything else about you. Just here's my picture, and yes, I'm over 21, and that's all you get to know. And that, I guess that is some layer of privacy there, but that's not anything that would be considered like a privacy coin or some sort of tornado cashy sort of thing. I think by anybody. I think that's something I remember probably want something like that. So
But I mean, the difference in this is for example, Zcash and Monero are illegal in Korea, and that's because they have it as their base design. I think that's probably what.
Monero doesn't
You know.
use zero knowledge proofs.
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a privacy coin.
Okay, so
they use I mean the Zcash uses zero knowledge proofs to achieve privacy of transactions on chain. But that doesn't, and maybe if they worded it that way, then you could ban that, but just doing it blanket tech I don't think works very well. That would be like banning encryption.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's how it works because, it's also very new for these governments. So they probably just want to ban. They have some people, some person in the government goes like, oh, this is bad. People are going to do bad things, and then, they make these silly laws about these coins that are like, oh, okay, well, I mean, they can't be private because it might be used for the wrong thing, and then in the end,
It's internet legislation all over again for a new generation and decade. The technology moves forward, and policymakers try to keep up, and that's how we wind up with the lower third of your page being a warning about cookies. It doesn't have to make sense sometimes, I guess.
that's the thing as well. If it's governments, sometimes everybody knows how governments are. Sometimes you just have a couple people who are sleeping at the wheel, and then they just dream of some doomsday scenario, and they start acting on that, and
Warn everyone about the cookies.
yeah.
this Ergo does sound more and more interesting the more I read about it. Yeah.
As I was getting into that too, I had the same impression. I think it maybe doesn't give a good first impression on its page, but as you get into it, it's got some pretty unique features.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great. We should get more into Ergo then. I'm all
Yeah.
for that. You know, diversifying our own mining revenue as well. So yeah,
Absolutely. We need to split up our mining on these kind of on the majors. Yeah. So I think those are the coins we're going to be covering
Mhm.
immediately
Mhm.
post fork, is Ethereum Classic, Ravencoin, and Ergo. We are considering adding more, of course. I think the first thing we'll do after those three is Nice Hash. Because as many of you probably know, we've been adding Bitcoin ASICs as well to our product mix.
yeah, we've started with some
today.
ASICs. So
Yeah.
if you're into ASIC mining, Bitcoin mining, go to our website and see what we have to offer.
And so that because of that, obviously there's we already have to integrate Bitcoin more substantially,
Yeah,
and that makes Nice Hash easier.
makes Nice Hash integration easier for us. Yeah, yeah. Talking a little bit about some news articles that I read this week. I had a funny one where Crypto.com accidentally sent someone 10.5 million instead of $100. I thought that was nice.
That's been all over the news for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think she bought a house with it, right?
I don't know. Did she? That's a great. She should.
Yeah, yeah. She bought a pretty nice property with that money.
Yeah. Good.
And now Crypto.com wants it back.
Yeah, they're suing her for it, and I'm not exactly sure what their case is. They are.
I mean,
yeah, we gave her a bunch of money. I mean, we were supposed to give her money, and we gave her more than we intended. I don't. Yeah.
she has $10.5 million to use for the lawsuit, so I wish her a lot of luck.
I hope she didn't put it all in the house there. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. I think she bought a $2 million house or something like that.
That seems reasonable. So she's got $8 million to spend on legal fees.
Yeah, yeah. And it also took Crypto.com 7 months to figure it out. That was what I thought.
I mean, given that part is the most wild to me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not like it's a packet of fucking peanuts now, is it?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Seems like somebody would have noticed a $10 million hole and a $10 million transaction.
That just worries me. That just means they lose money more often, right?
Exactly. That means that this isn't like
this isn't a one-off.
Red flags.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, usually like smart systems immediately tell you if something goes wrong like that, right? If you're like, hey, we only have $100,000 worth of crypto, but we send out 10 million or something like that, your system should be designed to tell you that, right?
Yeah. You'd imagine there'd be at least one chart that was just totally fucked up from this giant spike in the middle of it somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a really messed up crypto chart or something where you just get the one candle that shot up 100x and comes back down, so everything else is just flat.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, I mean, I think Coinbase did something the same a couple days ago.
Really?
What happened? What happened with Coinbase is they had the country of Georgia had people. They had an error in their local currency. So what happened was Coinbase mispriced people their local currency to make it 100 times more worth than it was actually worth.
Yay!
Interesting.
So about 9,000 or 900. Wait, what was it? Yeah, 100 customers used it to cash out some nice sums of money, or buy bitcoins and take them off of the exchange. While the
Well,
size of crypto exchange loss hasn't been disclosed, the spokesperson described it as a small non-material amount.
I mean, that's good, at least.
To them.
A small
I mean,
non-material amount. That sounds like a couple $1 million at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, what? How long did it take them to figure it out, though? That's the real question.
Doesn't really say here. So what probably happened was someone noticed it, and then he called all his friends, and those friends called all their friends, and they just did it until Coinbase figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might have been going on for half a day. You don't know. I don't know how many.
That's it right there. Is like Crypto.com takes them 7 months.
Yeah.
Coinbase half a day.
I mean, but this is a little bit different, I think, because people are obviously also going to send in tickets, stuff like that. Be like, hey, I think I got too much crypto, because some people are just like that. Even though 1,000 people abuse the system, there's some people who will probably just send them a message. I think that's what happens.
We should support those good guys. We'll need them when we have our $10 million giveaway, accidental giveaway.
Yeah, I hope we don't get that far that we accidentally give away
I think
$10 million.
People should just be signing up for us like crazy, because it's coming. Come on, guys. Our $10 million giveaway is going to come.
Yeah. Did you guys read what happened to Optify? It's a Solana-based chain. They accidentally destroyed their own decentralized exchange.
Oh yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, they a developer put in the wrong command and basically just destroyed the whole system with $500,000 worth of stable coins locked into it as well.
Interesting.
Somebody on Discord tricked him into pushing Alt F4, and there it went.
Yeah, there it went. He didn't press Control S right before he did it, and now the money's gone. Oh God, what kind of world do we live in that
Now you guys know why I take forever to do everything. Too paranoid to make one wrong semicolon all over.
I mean, like we said before, even Vitalik sends half an Ethereum before he sends 10,000 Ethereum away. So, better safe than sorry. Even Vitalik's safe.
I just find that fascinating. What can I say? I've seen someone recently get pissed off at someone else for sending test transactions because their payment processor didn't want to receive them, didn't understand what to do with them. The idea that Vitalik sends test transactions is mind-blowing. If the contract says, I was wondering about this, if the contract says you send the money, you send XYZ coin to XYZ contract, and you do that, or to XYZ address, and you do that, then and something happens, and as long as you can show that you sent it to the correct address, what
well, I think there's obviously a man in the middle idea here, So let's say I have access to your computer and you send someone a bill, and but I right before you send it, I change the address in the bill to my own address. So what they basically do is you send a small transaction, and then you go like, all right, I send a small transaction. Have you received it? And then they go, yes, I've received it. And then you go, send your large transaction.
But is man in the middle even capable on this? Like, I don't see how you could do a man in the middle attack.
I can do so. It's very easy to write a program that looks at your clipboard, and as soon as you copy an Ethereum address in it, just exchange it with the hackers or the bad
But
persons.
that's not a man in the
technically
middle attack. That's
Yeah.
like you, as long as I say, as long as you verify that the address that you pasted, double check the address before sending.
But it is still a man in the middle attack, right? Because it's the computer itself changes it to something else. The man in the middle is just
Man
on
in
your
the middle
computer
is
itself.
when you alter messages and communication. Like
I mean,
after it leaves your machine, like somewhere on your router. Or
That
your
okay,
network,
okay,
or
but
I would,
but I mean, then again, what if someone installs a self-signed certificate and then proxies all your stuff through that? That's possible. And then
Actually,
the man in the
on
middle.
that, I think you might be okay just because you've signed it and you can't tamper with a signed message.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to send someone your bill, right?
Oh, or if they just mess with the ad, like, and then, well, that's kind of the point of the test
Yeah,
transaction, right?
but no,
it's
that's actually
everything.
my point. Is that then if the bill was attacked, then that's not on the person who paid it. That's not the fault of the person who paid the bill. That's the fault of the person who sent the bill.
Yeah, but if
Well,
both
then you
companies
just
then
go
go bankrupt because they're both missing 10 million bucks, then you'll make it your own problem, you know?
And then you get to go fight it out about who's going to be at fault versus, you could have just sent some dust, $2, and made sure. I'll still send a test transaction if the amount is more than I would willing to be rug pulled for.
Yeah, same.
Right? Like, if I'll put this much money in a coin that I could be a rug, then I probably won't send a test transaction. But if it's more than that, I'll make sure, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Good idea.
yeah. I think we should always, you should always do a test transaction if it's a large amount. Anyway, guys, I think that's about it for today. We've already been talking for over an hour, and I don't know how we do it every time.
We're good at this
Somehow.
talking.
We just talk too much. That's our issue. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. If you like the stream, please like and subscribe.
Don't like it. We're trying to stay hidden here. Our goal is to keep
Our goal is to have 1 million podcasts and 0 views in total.
Well, I mean, we only want to be known by the creme a la creme.
We're gonna have the Guinness Book of World Records with most videos uploaded least views.
There we go. Love it. All right, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like actually the idea that we're just like the podcast that's watched by like the biggest names in crypto, but nobody else.
Yeah, shout out to DJ Mines again in the chat.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, he was asking how our New York facility's going, and it's going great. I mean, I don't know exactly what details he wanted there, but yeah, facility's running like quite nicely. It's been a bit hot recently, but cool weather's around the corner, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, shout out to Jordy in the comments as well.
Yeah, as well as Nathan.
Nathan. Yeah, thanks for your question on Ergo. It was very interesting reading a lot about Ergo in the last half hour. I should look a bit more into that.
Yeah. Oh, and next, let's see. Next week I'll be coming to you guys from Mexico. It'll be fun. Have to be on my laptop. I won't have my stuff if you guys want me on. Anyways, maybe we can actually find a guest.
Yeah, let's let's see if we can find a nice guest next week. And yeah, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Have a
Sounds
good
good.
one.
Bye.